The drums exploded into the night just as Kalen broke free from the crowd and ran. Mud splashed up his legs, torches blurred into streaks of fire, and behind him the villagers shouted his name with a fear that cut sharper than anger. The ground shook as something vast shifted beneath the stone temple, and a sound like scales grinding against rock rolled through the forest. Kalen's breath burned his chest. He did not look back. He already knew what was chasing him was not made of flesh alone. Kalen, his mother cried. Stop. He stumbled, caught himself, and felt the mark on his wrist flare with heat. Pain lanced through his arm, deep and pulsing, as if a living thing had bitten into his bones. He gasped and collapsed to his knees. The forest fell silent. Even the insects stopped singing. The elders closed in, their faces pale in the firelight. Old Tarek stepped forward, leaning on his staff. "It is done," he said softly. "You cannot run from a vow written in blood." Kalen looked down at his wrist. The symbol had fully formed now, a coiling serpent etched in glowing green beneath his skin. "I didn't agree to this," he said, his voice shaking. "I never said yes." "The goddess did," Tarek replied. "And that is all that matters." They lifted Kalen to his feet and turned him toward the temple. The ancient doors, sealed for generations, were open, breathing out cold air that smelled of damp stone and something older, something alive. The drums resumed, slow and heavy, matching the terrified rhythm of Kalen's heart. This was how he became the husband of the snake goddess. Hours earlier, the night had been ordinary. Kalen had been mending nets by firelight, half listening to the laughter from nearby huts, dreaming of leaving the village by morning. He had always planned to go. The forest pressed too close here, the legends too heavy. He wanted roads, markets, a life that did not revolve around fear of an unseen god. When the first drum sounded, the laughter died instantly. Seryth turned away from him, her massive body gliding across the stone with terrifying grace. The pool drained as if obeying her will, revealing a spiraling stairway that descended into darkness. She paused at the edge and spoke without looking back. "Come. If you are to wear my name, you will know my prison." Kalen did not move. Every instinct screamed at him to stay where he was, to pound on the doors, to beg the elders to undo what they had done. But the mark on his wrist pulled, a steady, insistent tug that made his bones ache. With a shaky breath, he followed her down. The air grew warmer with every step, thick with the scent of moss and something faintly sweet. When they reached the bottom, the darkness peeled back to reveal a vast cavern lit by glowing veins in the rock. Water flowed in quiet channels, and strange, pale flowers bloomed along the walls. "This is where you live?" Kalen asked. "This is where I am bound," Seryth corrected. "Do not mistake beauty for freedom." She turned to face him fully now. Up close, the details were overwhelming, the fine scales dusting her shoulders, the faint tremor in her hands as if she were holding something back. Kalen realized, with a jolt, that she was afraid. "Of what?" he asked before he could stop himself. "Of hoping," she said. Silence stretched between them. Kalen rubbed his wrist, wincing as the mark flared. "They said no one ever returned." "They did," Seryth replied. "Just not alive in the way you understand." His stomach twisted. "You killed them." Her eyes flashed. "No. The gods did. I merely endured." She gestured, and the cavern shifted. Shapes formed in the air, visions of men and women standing where Kalen stood now. Some screamed. Some prayed. One tried to strike her and was struck down by lightning from nowhere. "They were offered the same choice I offered you," Seryth said. "Fear won." Kalen's voice broke. "So what happens to me?" "That depends," she said softly. "On whether you can see me as more than." The storm broke without warning. One moment the cavern was filled with its soft, glowing calm, and the next the ground shuddered as if the world itself were flinching. Water surged over the stone channels, sloshing violently, and the glowing veins in the rock dimmed as shadows crept inward. Kalen staggered, barely keeping his footing. "They're here," Seryth said, her voice low and tight. A pressure settled over the cavern, crushing and immense, as though invisible hands pressed down from every direction. Kalen's ears rang. His vision blurred. From the ceiling, cracks split open, pouring down dust and shards of stone. Through those ears came light, cold, blinding, merciless. Voices followed. Not one, but many, layered together in a terrible harmony. Curse-bearer. Seryth straightened, her coil spreading protectively in front of Kalen. "You have taken enough from me," she said, her words echoing like thunder. "Leave him." Laughter rolled through the cavern, sharp and cruel. "You were never meant to be alone," the voices replied. "You were meant to serve." Kalen's knees buckled. He felt the bond rip through him, white-hot pain tearing at his chest. Images flooded his mind again, villagers screaming as crops withered, children crying as the sky burned with unnatural fire. He gasped, clutching Seryth's arm. "They're punishing them because of me," he choked. "Because I won't die." Seryth's jaw clenched. "Because they cannot stand defiance." The light condensed, forming towering figures of fire and shadow. Their shapes were only barely humanoid, faces smooth and featureless, eyes like pits of endless sky. The air crackled around them. "The vow is broken," they intoned. "The sacrifice resists." Kalen forced himself to stand, legs shaking violently. "I didn't ask for this," he shouted, his voice small against the vastness of theirs. "You chose me without my consent. You cursed her for loving. And now you want us to suffer quietly." The gods turned toward him. The pressure due. The scream of the curse was not a sound but a tearing sensation, as if the world itself were being ripped open and stitched back together. Light poured through the collapsing cavern, swallowing stone, water, and shadow. Kalen felt weightless, suspended between heartbeats. The pain he expected never came. Instead, there was warmth, steady, grounding, like hands holding him together when he should have fallen apart. The gods reeled. Their towering forms fractured, voices breaking into discordant howls. "This is not the vow," they thundered. "This is not the price." Kalen stood firm, though his legs trembled. He felt Seryth beside him, felt her presence not as chains or pain but as something shared, something equal. Her scream softened into a cry of shock as her body convulsed, scales splitting and falling away in sheets of green light. The cavern floor cracked open, releasing a surge of power that blasted upward, through the temple, through the storm-dark sky. Above ground, the villagers were thrown to their knees as the heavens ignited. Lightning froze mid-strike. The wind screamed, then fell silent. In the heart of the storm, the gods began to fade. "You will regret this," they hissed, their voices thinning like smoke. "Love is temporary. We are eternal." Kalen lifted his chin. "Then you will be lonely forever." With a final, furious flash, the light collapsed inward. The pressure vanished. The cavern went still. Kalen gasped and fell forward, catching himself on trembling hands. The bond on his wrist dimmed, its glow fading to a faint scar. He laughed weakly, half in disbelief, half in sobs. "Seryth," he called. She lay a few steps away, unmoving. Panic surged through him. He crawled to her side, turning her gently. His breath caught. She was human. No coils. No scales. Just a woman with dark hair spilling over stone, her chest rising and falling in shallow breaths. The marks that once bound her were gone, her skin smooth and warm beneath his shaking hands. "Seryth."